Okay, imagine a room just absolutely pulsing with the weight of global consequence. The White House.
Yeah.
And not for just a standard bilateral meeting. This was something else. An unprecedented gathering. The most influential leaders from across Europe sitting down with Ukraine's president, all there to confront, well, the most urgent conflict of our time. It felt like a high-stakes diplomatic chess match.
Yeah, that kind of meeting, it doesn't just happen on a whim, does it? It really shows a critical moment, a collective sense that the path to peace in Ukraine needs a unified, decisive push. The gravity, the pressure in that room must have been enormous.
Absolutely. And that's exactly where we're taking our deep dive today. We're unpacking that recent White House summit focused intensely on the war in Ukraine. So 4 sources. We've got insights straight from the video transcripts, remarks from the U.S. President, President Zelensky, other key Europeans. But here's the really unique angle. We also have an exclusive interview with Finland's President, Alexander Stubb.
Right. He was literally in the room where it happened. So that gives us a firsthand, kind of unfiltered perspective.
Exactly. So our mission today is to guide you through those pretty intricate discussions.
Yeah, to distill the core proposals for ending the war, explore the different viewpoints on achieving, a just and lasting peace. And we'll highlight some surprising moments, maybe some unexpected diplomatic moves too.
The complexities underneath it all. What did they actually agree on? What were the sticking points?
And what does it mean going forward? Let's find out.
Okay, so let's paint that picture first. This unprecedented gathering. The U.S. president himself called it a first for the White House. That's quite a statement.
It really is. Think about it. All those European prime ministers, presidents, heads of the European Commission, all together.
It speaks volumes about the scale of the challenge, doesn't it? And the unity needed.
Definitely. And look at who was there. The concentration of geopolitical power is striking. You've got NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Macron from France, Scholz from Germany,
Finland's President Stubb, of course, and Ursula von der Leyen from the European Commission.
All meeting with the U.S. President and President Zelensky. These are Europe's key players.
This wasn't just symbolic. It felt like a high-level, almost like a war cabinet meeting, signaling real commitment.
A deep collective commitment to finding some kind of resolution.
And the atmosphere. What was that like?
Well, despite the, immense seriousness of it all, the U.S. president's opening remarks apparently set a tone of collaborative optimism.
Praising each leader, even calling the White House setting beautiful and special.
Yeah, it seems like an effort to convey potential success. That maybe with everyone there, solutions could be found.
But underneath the diplomatic niceties?
Oh, absolutely. The core mission was starkly clear. The single, simple goal everyone voiced was to end the killing and stop the war in Ukraine.
Working towards a just and lasting peace. That phrase came up a lot.
Universally shared sentiment, of course. But the path to getting there, well, that's never simple, is it? The real work started when they discussed how.
And that urgency, it was really hammered home by a grim statistic President Stubb shared.
Ah, yes. He mentioned a minimum of 1,000 people dying or wounded every day.
Wow. That just cuts through everything, doesn't it? Brings home the raw human cost.
It absolutely does. That number is a constant, haunting backdrop. It puts immense moral pressure on these talks.
So how did they plan to move forward? Stubb summarized it, right?
He did. Being right there, he distilled the outcomes into sort of 3 main steps as he saw them. First, getting solid security guarantees for Ukraine. That was key. Second, trying to facilitate a direct bilateral meeting between Zelensky and Putin.
Just the 2 of them initially.
That was the idea. And then, if that showed promise, moving to a trilateral meeting involving the U.S. president.
Okay, so a structured approach. Cautious optimism, maybe, mixed with some realism.
I think that sums it up well.
All right, let's dive into those proposals then, starting with the big one. Security guarantees. This seemed to be the absolute linchpin for Ukraine's future in these discussions.
It really was. And the U.S. president made a potentially huge statement. He said Putin agreed that Russia would accept security guarantees for Ukraine.
Okay, hold on. If that's true, that's massive. A seismic shift, potentially.
It is. But the immediate question, and, for anyone following this closely, is what kind of guarantees are we talking about? And what does accepting them really mean from Russia's side?
Right. Details matter here.
Hugely. So various European leaders, Starmer, von der Leyen, Meloni from Italy, Macron, they were talking about Article 5 style guarantees.
Article 5, like NATO's collective defense. Attack one, attack all.
Exactly like that principle. But here, they're proposing something similar for Ukraine, probably through a new framework, maybe a coalition of the willing.
So not formal NATO membership, but a similar commitment from a specific group of nations.
Precisely. Nations voluntarily committing to Ukraine's defense. The key takeaway here is these aren't meant to be vague promises. They're intended as ironclad commitments, seen as absolutely essential for Ukraine's independence, its sovereignty, its territory.
And I suppose for broader European security, too.
Absolutely. To prevent future aggression.
Okay, but maybe the most startling moment, the real test of the waters, involved Putin directly. The U.S. president reportedly called Putin during the summit. Is that right?
That's what came out. And according to President Stubbs' interview, this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing.
Yeah.
No, it was highly calibrated, a coordinated move, designed, as Stubbs put it, for the U.S. president to test Putin.
Test him on what specifically?
On his willingness for that direct bilateral meeting with Zelensky.
Wow. And Russia later confirmed the call happened.
They did. Said it lasted 40 minutes, which is significant in itself.
So the insight isn't just the call, but the strategy behind it. A high-stakes probe.
Exactly. Testing Putin's readiness for de-escalation. A move with huge potential risk, but also huge potential reward. It could open a door or reveal just how far apart they still are.
Okay, so beyond that direct outreach, there was divergence on something pretty fundamental. An immediate ceasefire.
Yes, different views there. Germany's Chancellor Scholz, for instance, he stressed that a ceasefire should be a prerequisite. From the next meeting on, he said, to ensure the credibility, the sincerity of the peace efforts.
He felt you couldn't really negotiate seriously while the fighting raged.
That seems to be his position. It raises that classic question in conflict resolution. Ceasefire first or talk while fighting?
And the U.S. president had a different take.
He did. Drawing on historical experience, he mentioned 6 or so wars he'd helped stop, where ceasefire wasn't always step one. He said some agreements were reached through the war itself.
So while stopping the killing immediately is obviously good.
Right, he acknowledged that benefit, but he felt a peace deal was possible either way. It shows a difference in diplomatic philosophy, really.
Scholz wanting de-escalation first to build trust.
While the U.S. perspective, based on past experience, suggests leverage can sometimes be maintained even amid conflict.
And beyond just stopping the fighting, they touched on even more explosive issues, like territory.
They did. The transcript mentions discussion of possible exchanges of territory, taking into consideration the current line of contact.
Oof, that's incredibly sensitive, potentially a non-starter for Ukraine.
Absolutely. The very idea hits the core reason for the war. Any talk about the line of contact like that, it requires immense diplomatic skill and, frankly, a level of trust that just isn't there right now.
So it shows they're exploring all avenues, but also confronting the brutal realities on the ground.
I think so. And the deeply entrenched positions.
Yeah.
It really tests that idea of a just and lasting peace.
But amidst all this high-level strategy, the human cost wasn't forgotten.
No, definitely not. President Zelensky and Ursula von der Leyen brought up urgent humanitarian issues.
Like the abducted children.
Yes, specifically the return of abducted Ukrainian children, and the exchange of prisoners, soldiers, civilians, journalists too.
The U.S. president mentioned numbers.
He noted over 1,000 prisoners and anticipated their immediate release. This really anchors the whole thing. These aren't just numbers. They're moral imperatives.
And potential leverage points too, I imagine.
Huge leverage points. Resolving these issues could build goodwill, maybe even pave the way for progress on the bigger political questions. It's about lives, not just lines on a map.
Now, while all this is happening, it's crucial to bring in the perspective of those with, well, direct long-term experience dealing with Russia.
And Finland is absolutely key there.
President Stubb being in the room carries extra weight, but also just Finland's geography.
That long border with Russia, over 800 miles, the longest European border with Russia. That reality shapes everything for them.
And their history.
Exactly. Finland's own historical experience with Russia from World War II. It deeply informed Stubbs' view.
The Winter War, the Continuation War, they lost territory but kept their independence.
Right, a very different outcome compared to some neighbors. This history gives him an almost unique lens on Russian actions and the challenges of peace. He understands the cost of war and the complex dance with Moscow.
And that historical perspective leads to some pretty candid assessments from Stubb about Putin's aims.
Incredibly candid. He stated very clearly he believes Putin's basic strategic aims have not changed.
Which are?
seeing Russia as a superpower, trying to split the West, and fundamentally denying Ukraine's sovereignty.
That's a sobering dose of realism amidst all the diplomatic talk.
It absolutely is. Stubbs' view is a crucial counterbalance to maybe overly optimistic takes. He's saying, look, stopping the fighting is vital, but the underlying reality needs constant vigilance.
And this perspective sheds light on that hot mic moment where the U.S. president reportedly said Putin wanted to make it easier.
It does. Stubbs' measured response, where he emphasized dealing with the reality of Putin's aims. It was subtle. It seemed to acknowledge the U.S. president's genuine effort to end the war, while also warning, you have to stay aware of Russia's deep-seated goals.
Goals that often clash with real peace.
Exactly. It suggests any agreement needs to be incredibly robust to actually last.
So as the summit wrapped up, despite all these complexities, was there still a message of unity?
Yes, very much so. Leaders kept mentioning Team Europe and Team United States helping Ukraine, their common interest in a lasting peace.
The collective resolve seemed strong.
Indeed. There was a palpable sense, or at least a stated belief, that real progress was made, especially on framing those security guarantees and setting out that path towards a trilateral meeting.
And the U.S. president sounded quite optimistic about next steps.
He did, express confidence in finding two willing parties for a deal, even predicted results within a week or 2 weeks.
That's a quick timeline, setting expectations high.
It definitely signals an intent for a new, maybe accelerated phase in the diplomatic push.
So the leaders left with that shared purpose, heading off for more talks in the Oval Office before going home to coordinate.
That was the plan. So this meeting, it really was much more than just a photo opportunity.
It laid out concrete steps, complex ones, yes, but steps nonetheless.
Highlighted agreements, challenges, and those diplomatic tightropes they have to walk. A significant recalibration of strategy, I'd say.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you listening? This deep dive shows this huge, multifaceted effort to broker peace in Europe. It's a balance, isn't it? High hopes versus some very stark realities.
Yeah, it wasn't just speeches. It was about laying out a sequence for talks, tackling incredibly sensitive issues like territory, like the humanitarian crises.
And trying to learn from history.
Definitely. So as these leaders keep pushing, maybe the final thought for you is this. How do you think those lessons from history, particularly from countries like Finland, will shape the compromises?
And the guarantees that might eventually come out of these talks.
What level of security guarantee, what kind of agreement truly counts as a lasting peace in a region scarred by history and constantly tested by these deep strategic ambitions?
A tough question, and one that will definitely hang over things as these negotiations continue.